Bienvenidos! Welcome to another episode of Spain on a Fork. Today, we have another delicious recipe to kick off the week. We're talking Mexican-style orange rice. Now, before we get to the recipe, some of you might be wondering, what in the heck is a Spaniard doing making Mexican food? And I'll give you two reasons why. One, this is part of the new Spain on a Fork travel series, where the Spain on a Fork kitchen takes a virtual visit to one of the many beautiful countries around the world and recreate one of their dishes. And for two, I lived in Southern California for 27 years, where there's literally a Mexican restaurant in almost every corner, so I know a thing or two about Mexican food. Anyways, with that being said, the Mexican style orange rice that we are making today truly has the most incredible depth of flavors. Trust me here, I've had so many different versions, and this one right here hits on all cylinders, folks. This recipe is very easy to make. There's no tricky techniques, no special equipment, and it comes together in just 30 minutes. Really quick before we begin, a shout out to one of my newest patrons, Uncle Bud. Uncle Bud, thank you so much for becoming a patron of Spain on a Fork. You know how much I appreciate you. All right, let's begin by adding in 2 cups of vegetable broth into a saucepan, which is 475 milliliters. Now, to make this rice dish, you can also use water. I just prefer to use broth as it adds a bigger depth of flavors. As always, the one that I'm using is homemade. You'll find the recipe on how to make it in the iCard above and description box below. And we'll heat it with a medium-high heat. At the same time, I'm going to grab a large fry pan, heat it with a medium heat, and add in 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, which is 30 milliliters. While the olive oil is heating, I'm going to roughly chop half of an onion and roughly chop 4 cloves of garlic. Then we'll add in our chopped onion and chopped garlic into the pan with the hot olive oil. And you want to make sure to mix these ingredients around continuously, that way the garlic doesn't brown too quickly and everything evenly sautés. After about 4 minutes and the onion is nice and translucent and the garlic lightly sautéed, I'm going to add in 1 cup of uncooked long grain rice, which is about 190 grams. And we'll continue to mix this continuously, and we're going to lightly toast the rice for about 2 minutes. Now, before I added the rice into the pan, I did add it into a sieve and rinsed it under some cold running water. After lightly toasting the rice for about 2 minutes, I'm going to add in half a teaspoon of sweet smoked Spanish paprika, which is 1.15 grams. 2 tablespoons of canned tomato concentrate, which weighs in at about 28 grams. And we'll season everything with sea salt and freshly cracked black pepper. And we'll continue to mix this until everything's well mixed. Then we'll add in our 2 cups of vegetable broth that we have heating, which once again is 475 milliliters. And we'll give this one final mix, that way everything's evenly distributed. And like I always tell you, when you add in water into the rice, you don't want to overmix it, otherwise the rice is going to start releasing its starch, and at the end, it's going to lose its beautiful texture. Then we'll place a lid on the pan and lower the fire to a low-medium heat. And we're going to simmer this for about 15 minutes or until all the broth has been absorbed by the rice. Very important to check the package instructions in your rice to see what the liquid to rice ratio is. Again, in mine it was 2 cups of liquid to 1 cup of rice, and it takes about 15 minutes to cook. After simmering this for about 15 minutes and all the broth has been absorbed by the rice, I'm going to hit this back to a medium-high heat. This is going to give us some beautiful caramelized rice underneath, which takes this rice dish to the next level. Then I'm going to turn off the heat. And we're going to leave our rice to sit here with the lid on just for about 5 minutes. By trapping that steam in there, it's going to ensure that each grain of rice is perfectly cooked through. In the meantime, let's start getting our garnishes ready. I'm going to cut 1 lime into wedges and finely chop some fresh cilantro, which is also known as coriander. After leaving our rice to sit for about 5 minutes, I'm going to remove the lid. And using a fork, I'm going to gently fluff the rice. Then I'm going to transfer our rice into a serving dish. And we'll garnish it with a couple lime wedges and some of the finely chopped cilantro. Check it out. Our Mexican style orange rice is done. This is what great food is all about. Super easy to make, no tricky techniques, and it has such a beautiful presentation. But the beauty of this dish is going to be that caramelized rice that we have in there, as it adds so many beautiful textures to this dish. Let's give this a try and see how it tastes. All right, folks, time for the moment of truth. Now, before I try this, I just want to clarify something. A lot of people call this Spanish rice. That's not what it's called at all. It's Mexican style orange rice. You know, if you go to Mexico and you translate Spanish rice, you're going to go there and order some arroz español, which they're going to look at you and tell you, hey, buddy, you're in the wrong continent. So remember, Mexican style orange rice or even red rice. Either way, let's give this a try. Here we go. It's absolutely delicious, and that squeeze of lime juice at the end, don't miss out on that, as it brings out such a beautiful balance of goodness. As for the rice, it's beautifully cooked. And then the Spanish paprika, which is not typically used when you're making this rice, along with the vegetable broth, take this dish to the next level, folks. Easy to make, made with the simplest ingredients. Serve this rice next to some refried beans and some Mexican tacos for the ultimate Mexican fiesta. If you enjoyed today's video, hit that like button, leave me a comment below, and don't forget to share this video with your family and friends. That way our Spain on 4 community can continue to grow. Till the next time, hasta luego. Beautiful rice dish, folks. Give this a try. Again, with some refried beans and some Mexican tacos. Ay, 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 for the ultimate Mexican experience. See you in the next video. Love ya.